So the HFE gene, now this is per the NIH, so the National Institute of Health. HFE influences iron absorption by modulating the expression of hepcidin. Hepcidin is the master iron regulator protein. Hepcidin is a protein that your body uses to determine whether or not iron gets into or out of a cell. It is incredibly important and has lots of ties to diabetes. Common HFE mutations account for about 90% of iron overload phenotypes, which is kind of like manifestations of it in people, in people of Western European descent. So HFE rules a lot of the different aspects of iron regulation, whether that be through hepcidin. It also has ties to transferrin, which is a protein that plays a part in moving iron throughout the body effectively and preventing any oxidation where it's not supposed to be oxidized. And because of this European descent, it's been termed the Celtic curse for those of Irish descent, as well as the Viking disease for those of Scandinavian descent. Of note, I am of Irish descent. I am of Nordic descent. So kind of an interesting tie there. So as it stands today, hemochromatosis, this is all per the Center for Disease Control. Hemochromatosis is a disorder in which the body builds up too much iron in the skin, heart, liver, pancreas, pituitary gland, and joints. This is verbatim from their website. Too much iron is toxic to the body, and over time, the high levels of iron can damage tissues and organs. Well, God damn it, Dr. Sheldon. It seemed like you really hit the nail on the head for this one, right? And notice the CDC is not shy about acknowledging the multi-organ effects of hemochromatosis, right? Too much iron in the skin, heart, liver, pancreas, pituitary gland, and joints. It notes all of that because it's been shown people with iron overload have abnormally high levels of iron in all of those organs. They also, in the same breath, acknowledge that to have too much iron in the tissues of organs can cause damage. So I read this and it's like, how is this not news? How are we not talking about this, right? Because of those direct connections between, hemochromatosis and all of these organs, which are very prevalent in chronic disease today. Now, you may be thinking, well, maybe not a lot of people have it. How prevalent is it? How widespread could it possibly be? So, mentioned that there is the HFE gene, right, which seems to have a select few variants that have a very strong correlation with developing iron overload. But there are those who get hemochromatosis or symptoms of hemochromatosis that do not have the HFE gene, right? So again, this is multifaceted. It's not straight and narrow. Oh, HFE you definitely do. No HFE you definitely don't. And this is per the CDC website as well. 1 in 300 of non-Hispanic whites are positive for the HFE gene. 1 in 300. That's kind of a lot. Kind of a lot. And then you add the next point, which is that approximately 75%, 3 out of every 4 of those 1 in 300 don't show symptoms of it. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, Bowie, if they're asymptomatic, who gives a damn, right? So they're like, okay, they might be more inclined to store iron, but if they don't have any symptoms of hemochromatosis, who gives a damn? They must not be affected. And so the classic signs of hemochromatosis are fatigue, weight loss is one of them, diabetes is one of them, obesity is one of them. I would say that those are not asymptomatic. Like if you look at those numbers and like how many people there are that have that HFE gene and are prone to iron overload, and then you look at the rates of all of the symptoms of hemochromatosis and how that correlates with our population, I would not call that asymptomatic. Again, this may be a case of, well, they don't check all the boxes, so I can't technically say they do or don't. But there is a huge basis here to project a lot of people having, if not full-fledged, some, marginal effects or not so marginal effects.